Yes, thank you, Chair. Let me make three general remarks before I go into the issue of the complaint before the European Court of Justice. First of all, and it's been said here before, we have no fight with the Polish people because they are Europeans like us. We are all one, and we're just standing up for the principles that we have all signed up to. And the interesting thing is you just spoke of, the Eastern countries may have a view. Countries don't have a view. In a democracy, within a country, there's pluralism, something that you have a difficulty recognizing. My second general remark is that my group fully supports the efforts of Commissioner Timmermans to redress the situation in Poland and bring it back into the fold. Third general remark, you were all shouting when Commissioner Timmermans, by accident or by mistake, referred to Moscow rather than Warsaw. But isn't there a degree of hypocrisy there? Because aren't you also working very closely, for example, with Mr. Steve Bannon? This is all on the internet, it's all public knowledge. Mr. Steve Bannon, who's clearly out to undermine the European Union, who's also working with Mr. Orban, who's one of the biggest supporters of Mr. Putin. So this is all one big network. You all have the same agenda. So stop the hypocrisy. Because what this is not about, let's say, the age, the retirement age of judges. What this is about is your party creating an authoritarian regime in Poland. And the Polish people deserve better than that. So maybe you could have the decency to hear me out. Huh? Just for once, would be nice. So now the treaties allow the Commission to bring a complaint against the reform law before the European Court of Justice. It has already been raised, and we would really urge the European Commission to do that soon, before the deadline of the 3rd of July. You have the power and the means to act, and you have the support of the majority of this House. Now, because there is an urgency, the new law on the Supreme Court will enter into force on the 3rd of July in less than 3 weeks' time. Everybody's already mentioned what the consequences will be. We have to avoid that, because otherwise we get what we saw in Hungary, that the situation may have been redressed by Luxembourg, but by then a lot of judges had already been dismissed and they never came back. And that means that in the end there is still undue political influences in the judiciary. And since there's only a few weeks left, we would also urge the Commission to ask the Court of Justice for an interim measure to suspend the law until the case is resolved. So time is almost up, and we would ask the Commission to act now. And we would therefore join all the people in Poland, NGOs, political parties, civil society, who have been calling for the Commission to take this step before the European Court of Justice. Now, why is this important? And I'm going to quote the President of the European Court of Justice, who in a speech says, "Judicial independence is the bedrock of our democracies, be it at national or European level. I would go as far as to say that judicial independence is part of both our common heritage and of our very identity as Europeans. And the effective protection of EU rights requires that the competent national court is isolated from any political pressure." And if it's not, it means that the whole European judicial fabric doesn't work anymore, that there are big holes in there. We've already seen the Selmer case, the Irish judge who refuses to extradite a Polish citizen, not responding to the European arrest warrant. But this will go further. This will go further, because we are talking about more and more connecting, for example, databases. We're talking about e-evidence. We're talking about the evidence warrant. All those instruments will not work, not just in Poland, but in the whole European Union. Because if you remove one part of the chain, then the whole chain will fall. So this is essential. But I would still like to urge the European Commission to not focus only on the judiciary, but also look at the rights of women, also look at freedom of the media. I'm also very concerned about the attempts of the government to exert control over the media. The integrity and independence of the advertising and measurement market are crucial in this context. And Poland has actually dropped from number 18 to number 58 in the World Press Index out of 180 countries. That should tell you something. So I think, all in all, and to finally also respond to your allegation that, or your accusation that we are applying double standards, that may or may not be the case. But I think it is an argument, Commissioner Timmermans, to quickly come forward with this general mechanism for the rule of law that applies equally in all the member states, so that we can easily rebut the accusation that was just made.
Gracias, señor Lambert.